Hello, dear viewers. Today I'd like to talk to you about two very important people. First one being actually a very serious, very important person. Particularly given another quarter of my ancestry is Scottish. So far I've told you about the Scots, the Germans. I'll leave the remaining half of me for you to figure out later. But anyway, and this man died 704 years ago today. In England. In a rather nasty way, I might add. What do they do? Oh, they gave him the Four Horrors, which won't get this video flagged because it's not a woman wearing a bikini. They hanged him until he was almost dead. Then gave him a good stretching with on the rack, you know, arms and legs being pulled in opposite directions, which is quite painful, as anyone who's seen Thunderball could tell you. They cut out his entrails, set fire to them in front of his eyes, and then cut off his naughty bits and did the same thing with them. And then, to cap it all off, they finally cut his head off and tore his body to pieces. And they stuck his head on a spike and distributed the bits of him all over England as a warning to anyone who would try to free Scotland from the oppressive grip of the stupid English. That's right, I'm talking about William Wallace. In case you couldn't figure that out already, won the Battle of, did an excellent job with the Battle of Stirling Bridge, annoyed the hell out of the English, stopped their cavalry charge with a bunch of spears after first, that was Braveheart. What he did in the real life, the Battle of Stirling was actually the Battle of Stirling Bridge, and there was a bridge over the river, and the trouble with that is that the English are mostly cavalry, and they're going, we're going to ride our horses at the Scots. Wait, we can't ride our horses at the Scots. Why not? There's a river in the way. Okay, fine, we'll go with the bridge. Fine. So the William Wallace goes, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the bridge not work by breaking it somehow. He was 7 feet tall and could shoot bolts of lightning from his arse and fireballs from his eyes, but and so I presume he just swung a big hammer at the bridge and it fell to bits. And then I forget how the Battle of Falkirk, right? I haven't done my research in a while, but let's see. So he was a good man. Then he got sold to the English because, unfortunately, most of the Scottish nobles were a bunch of annoying turncoats who changed sides every other minute of the war. And his chief crime apparently was treason, which is wrong because the king of Scotland was John de Balliol, despite being an absolute weakling. What happened? How he got on the throne in the first place was. Did I already tell you guys this? Well, if you didn't see that video, I'll tell you it now again. King Alexander I of Scotland, named after me, rode his horse off a cliff. And he didn't have any kids, so they were like, oi, who's going to be King of England? And then Eddie Longshanks, King Edward I of England, was like, hey, you lot are going to be arguing about this for ages, and it's going to make a massive racket, and I'm trying to sleep here, so how about I decide for you? And the Scots thinking, impartial observer from the same island who's not at all power hungry, why don't we let him decide? So he goes, I'm going to put you, Mr. Weak-willed, in charge. Me, says John de Balliol. Excellent, I'm king. And then he goes and sits on the throne, and then Scotland gets occupied. And during this time, the Highland Games were invented because, the British were like, the English were like, hey, we don't want you guys having swords. Why not? You might stab us with them. Well, yeah, you deserve it. But, no, we're going to take them away. Fine. Hey, let's learn how to throw rocks really well. So you have the shot put, then you have the caber toss, which is where you throw a telephone pole, make it flip end to end as straightly as possible, presumably brain a British knight on a horse. Hammer toss was because, hey, they're wearing helmets, so if you whirl a hammer on like that, it'll put a dent in their helmet and probably their skull, because if you can put a dent in a metal helmet, then the skull is not much difficult after that. Right, so usually on today I observe a moment of silence at noon because, he didn't commit treason. He was loyal to his own king. He never swore an oath to King Edward the Longshanks the whole of his life because King Edward the Longshanks was a wank. So he definitely didn't need any oaths of allegiance. Rest in peace, William Wallace. His traditional gravesite in Scotland is actually very well visited every year on his death. A lot of people leave flowers at it and so forth because he freed Scotland. You know, statues all over the place too. Second person who's not quite so serious is Stephen Chow, one of my favorite foreign comedians. He's from Hong Kong. Well, China in general. Probably Hong Kong. I haven't done the research there either. I'm not really good at research. I'm a chemist. All I do is look at how chemicals react and go, ah, salt. Ah, boom. Ooh, should get out of the lab. Right. Stephen Chow never actually did any martial arts, but you might have seen him in things like Kung Fu Hustle, The Royal Tramp. What else? The Royal Tramp 2, and Shaolin Soccer is one of his more recent films as a director rather than just the guy who can't sing, which I find extremely alarming. Oh, hang on, maybe something in the wedding room here. No, there's not. But it's funny, it's ironic, because he can't sing a note. He can't carry a tune in the bucket. And all his characters are named Sing. If you want to see how he can't sing, watch Shaolin Soccer. Or just watch Shaolin Soccer anyway, because it's funny. So I was just looking through some of his stuff today and realized, hey, this guy is actually pretty cool, and I figured I'd mention him. So there you go, some more Chinese culture mentioned to you. Incidentally, Braveheart, while not actually all historically accurate, the Battle of Stirling Bridge was changed to the Battle of Stirling because, well, the film crew found that the bridge got in the way too, so they didn't want to do that. I'm not entirely sure whether or not he did sack York, but he probably could have, amongst other nice things. Oh, and Robert the Bruce was a jerk in history as it was in real life. Despite making a famous speech at the Battle of Bannockburn that ended up becoming the Scottish national anthem. Scots, well, hey, with Wallace bled and all the rest of that. What am I looking for on here? Oh yeah, random article. I just went onto the computer automatically without explaining myself. But here's a random article for you guys. It's still candy. They haven't changed the featured article since yesterday. So, random article. Alright, here we go. The National Lacrosse League. National Lacrosse League was a box lacrosse league that lasted 2 seasons. It is not related to the modern National Lacrosse League. This is apparently for both the United States and Canada, which is interesting because considering that lacrosse is Canada's official national sport when it should be hockey. It's much like baseball is America's official national sport when it should be, when at this point it's that weird game they do where they throw around this pointy ovoid thing from one end of the field to the other and have a bunch of huge guys running into each other smack for no good reason and wearing 40 pounds of body armor. Hang on, let's find out what the national sport of Canada actually is. I could be wrong here. Lacrosse. Use one keyboard all summer and you get switched to a different one and it's completely confusing. Hang on, here's an easy way to do it. National sport. Oh, that's how it is. In Canada, lacrosse is the official national summer sport, although it's probably rugby considering how many of my friends play it and how few of my friends play lacrosse. Except for his Chad Cogar-ness, Tom Bennington, who is going to be Chad Cogar for a year. That's a very prestigious position at Trinity College, by the way, where he yells at the dean for banning drinks at parties, and the dean goes, I'm going to ban drinks at parties anyway. And he goes, no, how about you just make it so people get carded instead? And so, after much arguing, he meets the dean 3/4 of the way in her direction and sort of gets us to have some fun, but it's not really his fault, it's the dean's fault for being a knob. I wonder if it's the same dean this year. If Kelly Castle's watching this, just kidding. If Kelly Castle's not watching this, I don't approve of the dean at all. The provost is cool, the dean sucks. So, that's it, and in somewhat a reference to loose connection to William Wallace and Braveheart and the rest of that, they may take our lives, but they'll never take our trousers. Good day.